What is an isolated ground and when do we need to use them? All right, so let's talk about what an isolated ground is. So sometimes you'll see something referred to as an IG receptacle, or you'll see an IGR for isolated ground receptacle. But an isolated ground receptacle is used where there's a lot of sensitive electronic equipment. So sometimes sensitive electronic equipment has really high frequency power supplies and things that happen. There could be RF radio frequency signals that come in, and any kind of conductor that you have can pick up radio frequency signals from the air. So that can create extra noise on a conductor. So if you have conductors that are around a bunch of this equipment, those conductors could get noise on them and it can affect the equipment. So running an isolated equipment grounding conductor to a piece of equipment that's not part of that same system can actually reduce the noise. But noise is often just a term that's thrown around. Noise can be a bunch of different things. So typically when we're talking about radio frequency interaction in a circuit, we're talking about EMI or electromagnetic interference. But noise can also come for other things. There's things called ground loops, where essentially if you have two pieces of audio equipment and you have two receptacles, you have the electrical equipment grounding system that is providing grounds, but you've also got the different equipment plugged into those. So you could have low voltage sound conductors that are run in between these pieces of equipment that are also grounded. So you could have an entire loop essentially of grounds. And anytime you have the slightest difference of potential between two conductors, current can flow on those conductors. So a lot of these boards inside of these equipment have a chassis ground, and all of the low voltage wiring is hooked up to that chassis ground, but you also might have mains power that you're plugged into using the equipment grounding system. So if there's any slight difference of potential that's created between a neutral and a ground, you can have basically any signals that are being transmitted. It can mess those signals up so they're not sending and receiving and hitting where they're supposed to at the same time, so it can cause damage to a lot of this equipment. How do you identify an isolated ground? Well, an isolated grounding receptacle is going to be either like an orange receptacle with like a little green triangle on it that lets you know this is an isolated ground receptacle, meaning that the ground works a little bit different. It's not connected the same way as a normal ground would be on a normal receptacle. Sometimes they're also white with like a red triangle, but either way, that little triangle denotes that the actual hole where your ground stabs into the receptacle is separate than the rest of the metal yoke or strap that device is constructed with. So in a normal receptacle, we're just gonna have the piece of metal that you mount the receptacle to a box with, and that's normally connected to the hole where all of your grounds from your cords plug into. But with an isolated ground, they isolate those two. So how do we install these? How do we actually make them so that they work? So the idea is that we will run a normal equipment grounding conductor, a ground, to the actual metal enclosures around this receptacle, and that's all connected with a low impedance ground fault current path all the way back to the service or to an electrical panel from where that branch circuit's actually branching out to. An isolated ground we have to run in addition to that. So you're typically going to have two grounds that are going to run out to a piece of equipment. Your ground that goes with the circuit conductors on an isolated ground circuit, that ground actually has to be an insulated conductor. It can't be a bare ground because it needs to be insulated from any other metal that it might touch. You want to completely insulate it and isolate it as much as possible. So when a piece of equipment is plugged in, that ground connection is completely dedicated all the way back to either the nearest service panel. It can be back to the bonding point for the neutral and the ground back at the panel. That's kind of the ideal situation. If you have a transformer, that's a new separately derived system, but either way, the ideal situation is to run that isolated ground all the way back to the transformer where your EXO, your neutral, your grounding electrode conductor, all your equipment grounds, everything bonds together at that point. That's where you're going to want to do it. So the idea is that you're running two grounds. One of them is just for the box, the enclosure, all of that kind of stuff. So if a ground fault happens, you still have a path, but it's not anything that the equipment's hooked into. It's just the stuff around the equipment. And then you run the second isolated ground conductor, and that one is hooked up directly to the isolated terminal on that isolated ground receptacle. All right, so as you can see, we've got our isolated ground set up here. This last box has the isolated ground. What I typically do on mine is I put a little bit of yellow tape on it So there's not really anything in code that says that you have to treat an isolated ground any differently. All of our grounds are supposed to be, green, or they can have a yellow stripe around them. So if you read 250.119, it talks about just the identification of equipment grounding conductors. So this is just the way that I do it. One other way that you could just run both of these green, and that's totally fine. The only reason that I identify it yellow is because I like to keep track of which one is the isolated ground throughout the entire system. So at every single one of the boxes, I've got yellow here, I've got yellow here, just so if somebody comes in the future and they want to add something in, at least they know, like, oh, this green is different than the rest of these greens. Same thing here. So say instead of a receptacle, say I just had a junction box, this junction box, I'm going to keep my isolated ground taped yellow, keep it going through the box. It's not hooked to anything, neither is this. It just goes straight through the box. And the only place that it hooks up to is this receptacle. Then we've got our regular equipment grounding conductor that goes through the entire thing, hooks to this box, hooks to this receptacle, comes in here, hooks to this box, hooks to, all of the rest of the equipment grounds. But this isolated ground through the entire system is by itself. I also like to leave a little bit of a loop rather than just pulling it straight, because say you did want to add something else on this, or you wanted to do something with this conductor and you didn't leave a loop, then you don't have any extra slack on it. So then we go all the way back over to the panel where all of these come in. I still like to do the same thing. I like to leave a little bit of yellow tape so that we know this is the isolated ground. I usually tape it several places, and that way you know which one is the regular equipment ground and which one is the isolated ground. Bringing it back to my ground lug here, this is a sub panel, so my neutrals and my grounds are kept separate in this instance. But if this were a service panel and you were making sure that you were putting it all together at the neutral, at that bond, you could do that as well. In 250.146D in the 2020 National Electrical Code, it says, where installed for the reduction of electromagnetic interference on the equipment grounding conductor, a receptacle in which the grounding terminal is purposefully insulated from the receptacle mounting means shall be permitted. The receptacle grounding terminal shall be connected to an insulated equipment grounding conductor run with the circuit conductors. This equipment grounding conductor shall be permitted to pass through one or more panel boards without a connection to the panel board grounding terminal bar as permitted in 408.40 exception, so as to terminate within the same building or structure directly at an equipment grounding conductor terminal of the applicable derived system or service. So they want you to install this within the same building. It is allowed to pass through panels and equipment without actually terminating into that equipment. The ideal situation is that you're running it out to the service, but say you're on like the 60th floor of like a huge hotel and the service is downstairs. Like obviously you're not going to be able to get a conductor 60 stories up in an existing installation. So they do allow you to go to the nearest panel that grounding point is going to be, where all of the other equipment grounds come in. Where installed in accordance with this section, the equipment grounding conductor shall also be permitted to pass through boxes, wireways, or other enclosures without being connected to such enclosures. So that's the big mention of equipment grounding conductors, but there are some misnomers out there. Some people are like, well, you have to run an isolated ground out to like a separate ground rod somewhere. And is that true? So if you think about it, you still need to be able to clear a fault. Right? The reason that we run equipment grounding conductors is so that we have a ground fault path. That means a path for ground fault current to travel, but we always hook that to our neutral so that there's a completed circuit, so a breaker will actually allow a huge amount of current to flow through the circuit and trip when it senses that current. If you just ran an equipment grounding conductor, be it isolated or not, out to a ground rod, and that was it, you didn't hook that conductor back into neutral somehow, current's just going to stay on that. There's not going to actually be a breaker that trips. So you have to hook this thing up to a neutral or a grounded conductor in the system. Now, that is not always the case. There are some manufacturers out there that specifically say that they want you to run it to a separate grounding point with a separate reference to earth. And you're always supposed to do things to a manufacturer. But in this case, you might be running something that's unsafe because you might have a fault that happens at the device, and now you have fault current that's on that isolated equipment grounding conductor all the way back to that ground rod, and that fault is not clearing because it's not connected to the system neutral. So always consult with any electrical engineers, anything on the drawings that references an isolated ground receptacle and how they want things installed, but also look at the manufacturer's instructions for how they want things to be done, because it actually could be kind of opposing ideals. Now, if you'd like to know a little bit more about why we bond conductors, this whole connecting a ground to a neutral thing, there's a video right here that you should watch. It's really great. There's animations. We talk about why we actually bond. If you're interested in finding out a little bit more about the whole difference between what a neutral is and a ground is, I would click this video, because that actually goes more into the differences between the two and the misunderstandings. Love you crazy people, and I'll see you in the next one.